YouTube. What is going on? It's your boy Buddha back in the building for another Last Cloudia unit showcase video, and we are highlighting the epic grandpa slash Gandalf slash Saruman, whoever you want to call him, like BLADEMASTER Beyland the White is in the building and taking the meta by storm currently. Him being a no attribute single wielder is just so nice, and there really is not a lot to flaw him on in his kit. But we're going to get into the nitty gritty details. First, we got to do what we always do with these 5-star showcases, give him the proper respect. If you joined me for my live stream this morning, we did some summons, we grinded up the souls to get BLADEMASTER Beyland ready for his debut on the Buddha Gang channel. Give us that nice little 100 damage cap when swords are equipped. We like it, we love it. And now let's take a look at Beyland's summary. You can see your boy Buddha has him 110 out of 110, 120 board unlocked, 4th awakened. We just got his ward and 98 SC to play with in this build. We were able to get some prisms, some extra prisms than the event has offered, since your boy Buddha did go into the paid summons to get this man. But looking at him, he is a soldier type, very common, not much beneficial for him with that. But the stat spread, he's got some nice HP, nothing too crazy, but he's just got that really, really big STR stat. We've actually seen a lot of other units come in with some better stats, some high tier stats. 1386 is not the craziest that we've seen lately. So that being his highest stat outside of HP is actually interesting to note. Attribute resistances, he's weak to the first 3 elements, fire, ice, and earth, and then he's got some resistance to thunder and some boosted resistance from there for light and dark. Ailment resistances, we can see neutral to poison, nil to blind, resistant to silence, resistant to curse, neutral to stun, and weak to illness. So you want to make sure to cover that if you don't want to block Beyland from his heals, which he can do some very, very nice healings we will see, and I'll try and make sure to point out. Looking at the abilities, right, his S1 rushing swordplay, frontal medium area slashing breakthrough combo attack, silver BLADEMASTER trait deals extra attacks. Obviously we're going to see what that trait is in the next section. Flashing swordplay, forward dash to close in for a medium area combo attack. Deals those extra attacks with the trait. And absent swordplay, his S3, instantly close the gap for a wide area combo attack, and that also has some extra attacks added to it. Formless wheel is a powerful combo attack to all enemies, which is great. We love AoE specials. They can come in handy more so than single target. And then obviously we see all of his attacks are no attribute. Again, so good because we don't have to worry about Trishula or any elemental resistance lowering in order to dish out Beyland's damage. Looking at the trait, that first one, Silver BLADEMASTER. Boss Wave. When only one weapon is equipped, physical attacks deal extra attacks. Regular attacks give a +1. Hit skill 1 gives that +2. Skill 2 gives +3. And skill 3 gives +5. Extra attack damage +30% and cap +20,000. Now, some clarification on this trait. Many of us already know it because he's been in the game for over a week now. However, these are not the extra attacks that we have known up until now, and that I go into more depth about in the latest Beginners 2022 guide that I made for Last Cloudia. These are literal extra animations within each one of those skills and regular attack. So instead of it being just a pop-off number from the original base damage that counts as a hit, these are actual extra animations resulting in extra hits in the combo for each one of those skills. You can identify them because they give off a different hue, right? When you're attacking with Beyland, if you notice in non-boss waves, he's got this white bluish hue that emanates off his attacks. Well, when you know those extra attacks are happening, there's this reddish hue during the end of the combo chain that is signifying those extra attacks, and I'll try and point those out in battle as well. Meditative State is his trait 2. When only one weapon equipped is one sword, no attribute damage, plus 50%, and damage cap plus 12,000. Very nice boost. When physically attacked, cut damage taken proportional to closeness of attacks, up to minus 20%. Damage taken minus 20% more from non-boss enemies with lower STR than unit. Now, this is somewhat of their attempt to give him some tankiness, maybe some bruiser-ish vibes based off the trait 2. However, I've come to find that this is pretty negligible. I guess it will come in handy when a boss isn't just completely nuking you with damage. However, for the most part, just think of Beyland as a walking nuke. There's not much defense going on. He just deals a crap ton of damage. Looking at the base skills, we're going to sort by all, sort by skill cost. Your boy Buddha is slacking. So just a quick correction and something I should note. You can see Beyland's stats are increased. That's because I did equip all of his innate skills and then hit confirm. That did push him up to a 1663 STR stat as well as like an 8000 HP stat. These are numbers that we're very much more used to seeing in these current modern units, and I always do usually have these equipped before I start the summary section, so just be aware that that is why there is this change of base stats with all of his base skills equipped. But moving back to his innates, right, he does have 2 magic casting skills available. Blade God's Charisma, incredible charisma, basically just a beefier version of his original form's charisma. When equipped with only one weapon, physical damage plus 20% and physical damage cap plus 4,000, this is even better than his original version because it gives a 20% damage modifier now on top of the damage cap, which absolutely helps any single wielder's damage. And then Silent Contemplation, one of the reasons Beyland is just such a standout unit. He's among one of the few to have built-in SCT charging. For 35 MP, you can basically insta-cast this, get 15 seconds of SCT for all his skills, and then rinse and repeat and charge his skills up as much as you want or can during any battle, which is just absolutely incredible. Going into the passives, he has Fighting Spirit 4, Heroism up 3, Advanced Aim, Vitals, Proud Force innately, Illusion, chance of evading some physical attacks. This is where things start to get just crazy. He has both Brute and Divinity Slayer built in his kit, which is a total of 10 Slayers, helping his physical attack damage. There are only 16 typings in the game, FYI. So he's got 10 out of 16 just built in him. That's a ridiculous SC save we haven't seen since Loug Zeus. And then couple that with special boost built innate. He's just dealing crazy damage without even needing to put many skills on top of him by himself versus more than half of the game. Auto critical, great SC save to have. Auto haste, another great SC save to have. Ardor innately is great to see. Gale Force at max HP, SCT recovery speed plus 10%. Wonderful. No attribute attack raise 3, right? The great damage mod and cap skill that we don't have teachable yet. No attribute critical raise, which will be nice if you want to take advantage of the crit builds that work very effectively on him. Pose of Glory, some SCT sustain. Serenity, first time we're seeing this kind of skill, boost physical attack damage based on MND. For clarification here, I just checked Lake's Gold Mine. Make sure to use that website if you're ever curious about the vagueness in some of these skills. This is going to take your MND stat and then apply 30%, 30, of that effectiveness to calculating your physical attack damage. This is very similar and a variation to the Thaumaturgy ring skill we have had in the game for so long. Beyland is introducing now other stats playing off of to increase the physical attack damage. Then he's got Swordsman Mindset 2, giving us a boost in stats to the specific pieces of gear that are related to this skill. Favored Sword, great that he comes with that equipped, and then Mystic Favored Sword. Now this has caused a bit of confusion in the community. Favored swords affect plus 50%, period. What does that mean? It means that this 30% now becomes 45%, and this 10,000 now becomes 15,000. This 50% is related to everything in the favored sword trait. When only one weapon is equipped and a physical attack critical occurs, chance for damage plus fit 150% and an extra 15,000 cap. So this is basically just a skill that boosts favored sword as well as integrates instant strike, which is a skill we've seen on a couple different units. Shift Kyle and Shift Lancevale come to mind. Guard Breaker, when only one weapon is equipped, chance to nullify guard. I love seeing this kind of skill because this is more efforts, in my opinion, to close the gap between why dual wield is so much more effective than typically single wielders. Part of that is because of guarding, right? If some unit is in guard and you're single wielding, you only have one chance to break their guard with however that is calculated. With dual wield, you are automatically doubling your chances to break the guard because you are doing twice the amount of hits. Skills like Guard Breaker, while I don't know the exact percentage here, and I could check, but I don't feel like it. This is just help that difference in effectiveness for breaking guard specifically in this skill's case between single wield and dual wielding. Doppelhander, an incredible SC save, physical damage, crit rate, and cap for our boy Beyland. Sword boost, sword high boost, and sword mega boost. The fact that he comes with all four of these skills innately, and double group brute slayer, and a built-in SCT sustain, the dude is just so stacked. You almost need nothing to make this guy perform at peak. There are a couple things we'll mention, however, just it's mind-blowing, all the skills this guy comes with innately. Ultimate boost too, just for the hell of it, I guess. His special is definitely not something that is super standout in any way. Quick trigger is going to give you a random stock at the beginning of battle, so awesome, incredible. Indomitable spirit, amazing self-sustain upon taking lethal damage. Giant killing 2, another skill that's very expensive, however, extra 20% damage and 2,000 cap to boss type enemies. Dude is a boss slaying monster as well as just a menace in any area of the game, bosses or not. Ambition, when physically attacking enemies with more HP than unit, physical attack damage plus 20%. With a base HP cap of 8,000 and then maybe getting up to like 11 or 12 depending on how you build him, you can bet that any PvE enemy is going to have more HP than you before you're killing them. So you're essentially just always going to have this 20% extra damage added to Beyland. And then white vestments, cloth equipped, MND plus 50%, and cut feint time. This skill is actually a very big deal and just works so well with Beyland. The MND stat coming into play with Serenity, and then that also being the stat that makes Proud Force heals do however much healing they're going to do. The dude's kit is so synergistically poetic that all of us veterans just love this guy. While he doesn't bring anything substantially new and meta shifting in any way, he's just almost a feature complete perfect unit nowadays, just with a couple shortcomings that you can make up for pretty easily. So you know, there's just not much to say he's lacking on. If anything, it would be that he does want some form of MP recovery that is lacking so that you can take advantage of silent contemplation and then regain that MP so that you can keep charging his SCT whenever you want. But with all of that out of the way, we went over what makes Beyland so crazy out of the box without even emphasizing his strengths. We're going to take him into battle. We're going to show off the builds that I have come up with for him and show how he does in different scenarios and aspects of Last Cloudia. First up, you guys know what's coming. It's a general DPS build. However, I did try and tailor this to be pretty free-to-play friendly. In this first wave, I wanted to show off the S1. I wish I would have taken advantage of the Silent Contemplation to show you that SCT recharge he has. However, since we have Pirate's Feast, it's no longer going to be an issue. S1, very cool, quick animation, but nothing too crazy to write off. Then we're looking at the S2. He does have to get into range, and he does quite a long combo. But if you notice, there's something going on here, and that is Beyland is resisting flinch. You might be asking why. Well, an arc I want to highlight, here's his S3 just completely demolishing everything. The arc Aldana Coliseum that you can see is an SR arc gives Beyland a flinch resistance for 30 seconds, which for this kind of general story wave clearing is all he needs in order to wipe the entire map and basically take away the risk of you getting flinched out of his animations. Because while they're not slow, I would say, they are definitely not the fastest animations, so without some kind of flinch resistance, he can get caught and interrupted out of one of his skills. However, when you have flinch resistance, it doesn't really matter when you're fighting enemies who also have flinch resistance. As you can see, 30 seconds is more than enough time than we needed to absolutely decimate Chapter 6-9 Encroaching Dead, which, as you guys have seen, can be tricky for some units to solo, but for Beyland, no problem. Moving on to a more optimal setup, this is how I tend to run him, especially when I do multiplayer runs. The critical pursuit attacks that Beyland can achieve is something that we've talked about in the podcast, Tweaks highlighted in his showcase video, but it's just too good not to keep talking about it when we can. Icy Guardian, the arc that we're running here, takes 50% of Beyland's critical damage and then gives you that as extra damage on top of every crit. So with, let's just say, around a 50,000 critical cap, then you take 25,000 and every crit is an effective 75k hit. And as you're going to see here, we're taking on Martigate. Now, with Icy Guardian, you might be thinking, well, of course he's going to decimate this. The beautiful thing about Martigate is that he has a no attribute damage mitigation that isn't really put on blast. I wish we had a fourth Beyland. I could only manage 3 with Icy Guardian, but with 3 Icy Guardian Beylands, it was like nothing ever happened. Moving on to Arena. I'm losing my timing here, but you can see we are taking him into Arena as our DPS unit, and he's going to do amazing. With the build, you can see I do have Game Master, which of course gives him a nice 40% extra physical damage if you give him Fish Mimicry. But there are other arcs you can substitute in order for him to deal great damage here as well. But I really wanted to lean into him having as many Slayers as possible, which he will need help in the Human Slayer department since he doesn't cover that. And I gave him Machine Slayers because we know there are some pretty meta machines that are still around in Arena 2B, Shift Alice, things like that. But this first one, you can see he makes quick work of. I mean, we're not going up against the craziest defensive teams here, but in Super League, when you're dealing this kind of damage out, it's just amazing. You can see in these first 2 battles, I do target spell render teams. Beyland has the advantage of being a no attribute attacker, which deals extra damage to with 2 spell render teams, 30% extra damage. So my typical strategy: go after the sorcerer first, but then you saw Loug Zeus had an S3 going off. I intentionally waited to try and attack him so that Beyland wouldn't get caught in the crossfire, which is his biggest weakness in Arena. Wow, he has the damage to absolutely nuke everything we see on the screen. You can see he's cutting through Gorm's guard with Guard Breaker and Shockwave in this build, and then just dealing absolute destructive damage. Not the craziest damage, but plenty to get the job done. I wanted to make sure in this third match that you're going to see to take on a non-spell render team, specifically a sword render team, which is designed to specifically defend against close range physical DPS. And we're going to see that he doesn't quite penetrate through this defense like he did the other 2. You can see even Tyria's kind of absorbing some hits. It took a couple skill stocks to take her out. And then Gorm plus Roland here are able to eat his hits and allow 2B to catch Beyland with one of the S3s, taking away one of his livestocks, as you saw. We're not at much of a risk of losing this match because my supporting team is where it needs to be. However, you saw Beyland go down twice now and he's not able to just pop the enemies like he was in the prior 2 matches. So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you are taking him into fight in arena, what kind of team formation you are fighting. I didn't try to run him on auto because any unit that's close range and goes in without manual control usually just gets caught in the crossfire, as we saw him get caught in that battle. But overall, Beyland is absolutely insane. Those are going to be his showcase videos. Back to the end of this video. Needless to say, Shift Beyland is one of the most fun characters we have seen in Last Cloudia. As far as I can recall, the ease of building him, not needing some crazy, unique, and hard-to-come-by skills in order for him to look as good as he can, is just absolutely a treat. Now, a lot of people may still have the question, is he a must-summon after all of this praise you have given him, after all this praise we hear about in the community? The answer to that question is still a big fat no, for a couple of different reasons. Must pulls in Last Cloudia, I think, just fall under a different set of rules than most games, regardless of how OP and broken this character absolutely is in today's meta. There are a couple things. He is a DOH unit, which means if you're free to play or budget, this guy will be entering the off-banner pool for DOH banners 6 months from now, which means you could get him just off of other summons that you go for, and there is no real reason to chase him unless you are wailing and trying to get him from the ease of him being on rate up. There is no necessity for him for any account. Looking at the entire roster and availability of units that we have in the game in the DPS department. Must summons and what you're going to want to save your crystals for are pitying certain very special arcs that are probably around during collabs, or if we are able to find a unit that adds some crazy account utility that we just haven't seen before, similar to like a Roy did back in the Full Metal Alchemist collab. As amazing as Beyland is, he's not doing anything that we haven't seen from other characters in an essential must-have kind of way. So I highly encourage you to save if you're debating, if you've got like 7,400 crystals sitting up there. It is not worth it to throw those multis and hope to get Beyland when there is so much you can do to progress in the game and set yourself up to get something that can truly make your account age like fine wine. I just realized that in my in-battle showcases, I didn't really get to show off just his silent contemplation capabilities and then Goddess Kiss regen with his normal attacks, but I do want to give a huge shout out. If you're here, you've probably already seen Tweaks' Beyland showcase video. Tweaks has restructured his unit showcases to go so in depth with details on vague descriptions and stats and all of the behind the scenes knowledge that you really need to know about these units. Tweaks lays out in his new unit showcases, so highly encourage you to go check that out to see whatever I did not cover and learn how to use this man to his fullest potential, because the reward is definitely something. But that's all I got for you this time, guys. Like, subscribe, bell noties if you're new to the Buddha Gang and Last Cloudia in general. If you're just starting the game with this guy, you are probably sitting amongst one of the best positions ever to start the game in Last Cloudia, so kudos to you. And with all that being said, y'all know what we say. Work hard, play hard. See you in the next video.